We are on the third mission of the first parak of Pirkei Avot, and it goes like this. So it says, Antigonus ish Socho kibel mishimon HaTzadik, right? Antigonus the man of Socho received from Shimon HaTzadik, hu haya omer, he would say the following, Al tiyu chavadim hamshomshim et harab al menat lekabel pras, ela hevu chavadim hamshomshim et harab shelo al menat lekabel pras, v'hi mora shamayim aleichem, right? Do not be like the servants who serve the master in order to get a pras, that's going to be a key term. Rather, you should be like the servants who serve the master not in order to get their reward. And then as a final caveat, and let the fear of heaven be upon you. So what does this Mishnah mean? So first, what does pras mean? So to be clear, the Mefarshim say, pras does not mean schar. A schar is a wage, right? A salary. What we're saying here is, forget serving somebody not for a salary. That's good, right? But that's just kind of almost the beginning step. We're saying don't even serve for a reward, for a gift, for a bonus. Now what does that mean? So often, say if a parent asks a child to do something, or a friend is asked to do something for their friend. So what happens is they'll hopefully they'll do it. But when they do it, they might be like, hopefully I'll get like a treat out of this, or some pizza and beer, or they'll kind of be hoping to get something at the end. Now this Mishnah is saying is just nullify any prospect of any reward whatsoever. Forget a salary, forget wages, forget a reward, forget a bonus, forget a gift, nothing. You're doing it for the pure sake of the love of the mitzvah. And here, there's a duality to this mission that needs to be spoken about. That is, the very beginning, don't do something for the sake of reward. That's a person serving out of love, right, out of Ahava. And as opposed to V'hi mora shamayim aleichem, right, that critical component, caveat that Antigonus ish Socho adds at the end is, a person should have Yira shamayim. That is to say, don't serve only out of love, but there's also an important corollary that needs to be attached, and that is Yira, a sense of fear, a sense of awe for the person you're serving. The reason why that's so important is because Rambam says, "Ha'ohev lo yishkach emash shetzuva lasoto." Right, a lover will not forget something that he's been commanded to do, and that's critical. However, the possible danger here is when a person starts to become too excited about a certain mission, they might start trampling on other people. They might start neglecting things that they probably shouldn't be doing. And so Antigonus adds a second part, "V'hi mora shamayim aleichem," right? So it says Rambam, and the person who has a certain sense of Yira, right, a certain sense of awe or fear, will not do something that he's been warned against. So here we have a duality to every relationship. That is to say, people want to engage and be positive people. But then sometimes, in your eagerness to be positive, you kind of tend to blow past certain important things. We might cause certain amounts of damage, and therefore there's this kind of important element of zrizut, right, of alacrity in doing something positive, but there's also a certain amount of zehirut that you need, and I believe the Rav says that. That's the Bartanura speaks about that. There's a zaris doing positive mitzvahs, there's a zahir refraining from negative mitzvahs, and so we see that Antigonus ish Socho is drawing both of those elements out. Never forget one without the other. A person who's so attached to love might start doing things that are extremely inappropriate, and that's why we need Yira. But a person who is excessively Yara, right, he must just be struck into complete inactivity. He'll be totally passive. He's like, look, I'm not going to do any damage, but I'm not going to do any good. But the whole point of a relationship is to, again, make sure that the good is there. However, you still need a protective barrier around that relationship. So we see this duality here. So that's one. And then another thing that I would like to highlight is something the Rambam says, really powerful. Rambam actually cross-references to his commentary in Sanhedrin in the 10th parak, and he says the following. He says, first, a person should do mitzvahs out of love. And he says, the way things begin, right, the way we might get a person started in their avoda is, a kid, he wants sweets. So we'll give him nuts, we'll give him honey. That's a way to kind of incentivize him to do something that which is true, right? To learn, to engage in Torah learning. But it's important to realize that the sweets are really just a means to an end, right? Like the pure thing itself, the pure learning on its own should be reward enough. But again, he's a kid, he needs something special. But then as he gets older, it'll be clothing. He wants to wear like nice clothing. And Rambam keeps going, and he's like, look, then it'll eventually turn into money, person's pursuit of money, right? That's what they're going to want, and that's kind of what's helping push them along the path of truth. And then eventually when a person gets a little bit older, it's going to be kavod. They want a certain amount of respectability, right? A certain amount of prestige. And that too is, again, Rambam says, look, it'll help them get the way. It's shelo lishma, but hopefully shelo lishma, it'll be lishma. However, Rambam says that the klozim meguneh, it's necessary, but it's still disgusting. And he makes a point of saying that because it's important to realize that yes, it's true. Of course, a person should be enticed into doing mitzvahs, that he'll do the right thing, maybe for the wrong reason, but he'll still be doing the right thing because Judaism focuses on action. But he also says there's a holut ala emet, right? It's making a laughing stock of the truth. It's like, this is my own analogy, it's like paying a kid to read books. It's good. The kid is reading books. He should be reading books. But like, do you really need to incentivize him with $20? Everyone would recognize that that's bid'iyah, that a person should, hopefully, eventually, again, we pay the kid to read books because hopefully, be like, wow, books are actually really cool. And then he'll do it. Be like, I don't need the $20. I'm happy to do this on my own. But if a person just gets caught up, he's like, look, I'm only going to do this only if I'm getting paid, only if I get a certain amount of money, prestige, right? If I get nice clothes, if people start respecting me, or I get certain treats at the end, that's not a good way of looking at things. And so that is the message from this week's Mishnah. We'll end it there. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and we'll see you next week.